Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to look at the Personal Real Estate Corporation, the Prec. As you are aware, the legislation has been amended to allow agent claiming the receiving the commission through the Prec. So now let's first. Today we are going to see what the RICO requirements are in order to incorporate your Prec. So now let's go to, actually all the informations are in the TREP website. Now this is the shortest website. Let's go into the, when you have time you can also go in and look into it in detail. Now let's go to government relations. Under government relations, there's an item, incorporation resources. Now, all the issue matters about Prec are here. So now, first let's look at the news release regarding the Prec. Effective October 1st. The legislation has been amended. So let's see what the news release says. Okay. Ontario government announced the first phase. Now the first phase of regulatory changes related to the Trust in Real Estate Service Act, which is to be to replace the current REBA 202. Okay. The new changes will modernize rules for registered real estate brokers, and salespersons across the province, while also addressing consumer concerns. Now, the first phase announced today includes regulations that more closely align real estate brokerage and professionals with modern business practice. The new measures will allow real estate professionals to incorporate and be paid through Prec. Okay. Let salesperson broker use additional advertising terms such as real estate agent and realtor in their advertisements, better reflecting the service they provide to consumers across the province. Now, the second phase, expected later this fall, will include public consultations with consumers and real estate professionals that focus on further measures to support trustworthiness and the highest ethical standards in the real estate sector, including updating and modernizing the Code of Ethics for real estate professionals, implementing disclosure requirements to better protect consumers, and improving regulatory efficiency and enhancing professionalism in industry by updating the authority and powers of the RICO. So, the first phase is mainly concerned about the Prec. Okay? The second phase is about the updating and modernizing the Code of Ethics, and also give more power to RICO to enforce the legislation, and of course give us on the penalty everything. So anyway, today we are looking at the first phase. Now let's go back to here. Okay. Now in order to incorporate a Prec, RICO has prepared a checklist. Okay, this checklist is very important. So when you want to open a Prec, you bring this checklist to your accountant. Okay, show them what the requirements are, and then they will open your corporation for you in accordance with this checklist. Now let's look at it. Okay, this checklist you can find it either in TREP's website or in RICO's website, or in our office. I'll try to keep a copy with the front desk, and then you can look at it anytime. Okay. Now let's look into this Personal Real Estate Corporation checklist. Now, first of all, Corporate attributes. Now, the corporation must be incorporated under the Ontario Business Corps Act. Okay, the corporation has one single controlling shareholder, that is the broker or the salesperson. Okay, and he owns all the equity shares, which are the voting shares. Okay, so there should be only one single controlling shareholder. That is the broker or the agent, the registrant. Okay, the salesperson, and he should own all the equity shares. The controlling shareholder is the president and sole director and officer of the corporation. Okay, he himself is the president and sole director and officer of the corporation. No other director or officer. The controlling shareholder is registered as a broker or salesperson. So he must be the broker or the salesperson. That means he must be you. Any non-voting shares, that means the non-equity shares, must be owned directly or indirectly by the family members. That is the spouse, children, parents of the controlling shareholder or by the controlling shareholder. So if your corporation has non-voting shares, it must be owned directly or indirectly by either your family members or yourself. There's no written agreement or other arrangement that restricts or transfers the powers of the sole director and officer to manage or supervise the management of the business and affairs of the corporation. That means you cannot transfer your power as the sole director and officer to another person. You must yourself manage, supervise the business affairs of the corporation. Okay. Now the Prec conditions. The Prec does not carry on business of trading in real estate other than providing the service of its controlling shareholder to the brokerage that employs that individual. So you have to understand, the Prec is not a corporation to carry on business of trading in real estate. You yourself remain as the individual to trade. You are the registrant to trade in real estate, not the Prec. Okay, so Prec cannot carry on the business of trading in real estate. Prec is only providing the service of you yourself to the brokerage that employs you. Okay, so the controlling shareholder is employed by a brokerage to trade in real estate. That means you are employed by us to trade in real estate. The Prec is controlling shareholder and others are prohibited from representing to the public that the Prec trades in real estate. Now this is very important. Okay, so you must not represent to the public that the Prec trades in real estate, because the Prec is not a registrant. Prec is not registered under RICO, under the legislation. So you yourself are the one remains the one trading in. You cannot promote in advertisement saying that Prec trades in real estate or you own a Prec. Okay. The Prec does not carry on business as a brokerage. The Prec is not a brokerage. Okay, it's only a corporation for you to, mainly for the purpose of obtaining your remuneration through Prec, and then for tax purposes. So Prec himself is not a brokerage. Cannot say hold deposit in trust exchange account, something like that. Okay, now. The Prec only receives remuneration for trading in real estate from the brokerage, employing the control individual, and the control individual only receives remuneration for trading from the Prec or their employing brokerage. So the Prec will receive remuneration. Remuneration means the commission or whatever reward you got through the trading in real estate. Okay, you got. So once you open the track and then you sign the agreement with us, Then from that on, we will pay your commission, your remuneration to it Prec, and then you will get the remuneration from the Prec. Okay. The Prec does not, on behalf of the brokerage, directly or indirectly, hold any money or other property of a person in connection with trading in real estate. So that means you cannot hold deposit, like for example, hold deposit for your client, acting like a brokerage, as mentioned before. The trade does not carry on business brokerage, so you cannot hold anything, mainly like the deposit, okay, holding for your client on behalf of the brokerage, on behalf of the brokerage. So you cannot do that because Prec is not a brokerage. Agreement between brokerage, Prec, and controlling shareholder. Now, there must be a written agreement between the Prec, the controlling shareholder, and the brokerage, governing the relationship between the brokerage and the corporation and its controlling shareholder. So now look at this. There must be a written agreement. So in order to get commission through the Prec, you must sign an agreement with us, with the brokerage. The brokerage, the Prec, your company, you yourself, and the brokerage, 3 parties, have to sign a written agreement, okay, to govern the relationship between the 3 parties and the use of Prec, okay? Under the agreement, now the Prec agrees not to hinder or obstruct the brokerage or its broker record in the performance of duties under the legislation. So the Prec cannot hinder or obstruct the brokerage. Not to hinder or obstruct the controlling shareholder in the performance of the controlling shareholder's duty under the legislation. So you yourself, when doing the trade in real estate, Prec cannot hinder or obstruct your performance under the legislation, okay? The Prec has to provide whatever assistance may be reasonably necessary to enable the brokerage and the broker record to comply with their duties under the legislation and to enable the brokerage and the broker record to ensure that the controlling shareholder is complying with the controlling shareholder duties under the legislation. So that means the relationship between brokerage and you yourself as the agent remains the same. We have to comply with our duties under legislation, and we also have to supervise and ensure that you the registrant, also the controlling shareholder of Prec, is complying with with your duties under the legislation. So Prec cannot hinder or obstruct this, okay? To provide whatever assistance may be reasonable to enable to determine whether the conditions are met. We have, every now and then, we have to look into that and make sure that the conditions under this agreement are met. Brokerage obligations. Now, we have to, as a brokerage, before any remunerations paid to Prec, we must certify itself that the corporation meets the requirement to be a Prec. Every now and then, we have to ensure that Prec is your Prec meets the requirements to be a Prec. Okay, the requirement as we mentioned above. The registrant must enter an agreement with Prec and the brokerage regarding use of Prec and the payment of remuneration. This we mentioned before. You must enter in agreement with us and Prec. Registrant obligation, your obligations. Now, the registrant must be employed by the brokerage. You must be employed by us through a contract, like in our office, through a contract, sign a contract with us. Okay. In establishing the Prec, the registrant must ensure that the criteria and conditions identified are met. The registrar must enter agreement with Prec and the brokerage regarding use of it. Okay, these are the same as before. The registrar must notify the registrar of RICO of the legal name of the Prec and the address for service of the Prec before the Prec receives any remuneration from a brokerage. Now, this is very important, okay? Once you have opened your own company, you must inform RICO, the legal name of the Prec, and the address for service of the Prec, okay? The Prec cannot pay the registrar an amount for remuneration that is greater than the amount of remuneration received from brokerage. That means what we pay you through the Prec, and then the Prec will pay you the same amount. Okay, cannot be more than that in each case. Now, the registrar must notify the registrar in writing of any change in circumstances that would affect the Prec's eligibility for the exemption from registration, or any change to the information provided to the registrar about the Prec within 5 days after the change takes place. This is the same as any change RICO requirements. When you have any change in status or whatsoever, you must inform RICO within 5 days after the change takes place. Okay, so any change in that will affect you, because Prec is exempt from registration because it does not trade in real estate. So if anything affect that eligibility, you have to inform RICO. Also, if you change your address or change your name or change shareholder, or you add in non-voting shareholder, something like that, you also have to inform Prec within 5 days after the change takes place. Okay. The registrar must ensure that the Prec does not engage in any activity that will otherwise require registration. So if Prec, your company engage in other activity that require registration, then you have to be very careful, because that may affect, limit, or prohibit your normal performance also may affect your exemption from registration and affect your the Prec status. So this is very important. Okay. Now this is the RICO checklist. So when you open a company, you have to show this to your accountant or lawyer. Okay, what the RICO requirements are in your company structure, which is very important. We have to ensure that everything is in compliance with this checklist. Okay. Now, let's look at another important issue. That is the RICO Prec FAQ, the frequently asked questions. Now, let's look at here. Ontario government has introduced new and amended regulations to dealing with personal real estate corporations, expanding the term that brokers and salesmen may use to describe themselves, and replacing, now look at this, replacing reference to commissions and other remuneration with remuneration. So they don't use commission and other remuneration anymore. Just use one word, remuneration. Okay, which includes commission and any other rewards whatsoever paid to you in a trading or business. The legislation has been amended to permit a brokerage to pay remuneration owed to a salesperson or broker for trading in real estate to a corporation that meets specific criteria. That's what we discussed before, the checklist. Okay. Now, the corporation referred to as Prec. A Prec is a corporation that a salesperson may establish that is permitted to directly receive from a brokerage remuneration that is earned by the registrar. Now, the new rules allow for but do not require the use of a Prec Okay, so it's up to your decision whether you want to use a Prec or not. It is not mandatory. Okay, you can remain as before. It depends on your income. Okay, if the income is not high enough to open a Prec, then there's no point to use it. Okay, it is your own decision. You have to consult your accountant. Now let's look at these are quite commonly these are frequently asked questions which are quite useful. Let's look at them. Now, first one: does a Prec have to be registered with RICO? No. A Prec is exempt from registration from RIBA and is permitted to receive remuneration from the brokerage if the Prec meets all the required criteria and satisfies all the conditions set out in the legislation. A Prec cannot trade in real estate other than to provide the service of its controlling shareholder to a brokerage. The salesperson or broker must continue to be employed by the brokerage in order to trade in real estate and to have their remuneration paid to the Prec. So basically, a Prec is exempt from registration because it cannot trade in real estate. So it is not registered under RIBA. Okay. How do I know if it's a good idea to set up a Prec? Based on each individual's personal circumstances, there are advantages and disadvantages to the creation and use of Prec. So this is one thing that you have to consult your accountant, okay? And so whether a Prec is the right approach for you, okay? Now, it is also important to speak to the broker record to inquire whether the brokerage is willing to enter an agreement with Prec. Brokerages are not obligated to do so. Now, remember this. But as far as our brokerage is concerned, we will try to. We have arranged an agreement, and we are going to allow you to do the Prec. What do I need to do if I want to set up a Prec? In addition to consulting financial other experts and you need to now ensure the corporation meets the criteria and conditions set out in the legislation. That is a checklist. Ensure the agreement between the registrant, the Prec, and the brokerage include the required content set out in the legislation, also the checklist. Provide the legal name of the Prec and its address for service to RICO, okay, under this email address. So when you have formed your corporation, send in your legal name and the address for service to RICO through this email address, okay, registration@rico.on.ca. That is your responsibility, okay? Do I need to set up a real estate trust account for my Prec? Now, no, because as we have mentioned before, Prec is not a brokerage, so you do not need a trust account, and you cannot hold, as we mentioned before, you cannot hold on behalf of the brokerage any money or property for your client. So Prec is not permitted to hold any money or other property as a deposit in connection with trade in real estate. So you don't need a trust account, and you are because you're not a brokerage. Are there rules on how to name the Prec? Now, this is strictly your business decision, okay? There's no restriction or regulation on how you use your name, okay? In choosing a name, a register is a reminder that in order to remain exempt from registration, the Prec, its controlling shareholder, and others must not represent to the public that the Prec trades in real estate, okay? Make sure that you cannot represent to like putting Prec on your business card, something like that. You cannot do that to promote that Prec trades in real estate. Can my team be paid remuneration through my Prec? Now, this is important. Say you have a team, a lot of people working in a team. As its name implies, only one registrant may be paid remuneration through a given Prec. All remuneration for team members must flow from the brokerage to each of the individual brokers and salesmen or to their respective Precs. That means your team members, this Prec is very individual, just for one registrant. So you are the only one, you are the registrant, the president, the officer, director of Prec. No other registrants are involved. So if your team members want to have the same treatment, then they have to open their own Prec, okay? And then otherwise will pay to your team members as usual, to the team member directly if he doesn't have a Prec. Can registrants who are spouses own the equity shares of the corporation? Now, this one we have looked into before. Equity shares, no, definitely, okay? The voting share, that means the voting share, must be wholly owned by the registrant, by the president, the only officer, director of the Prec himself, okay? There must be one registrant who owns all the voting shares, and the Prec may only receive remuneration for that one individual registrant, okay? So the answer is no. Can I advertise using the name of the Prec? Of course not, okay? No. You cannot represent to the public that corporation carry on business of trading in real estate. I have a corporation set up for other purposes. Can I use it as a Prec? A registrant may be able to use an existing corporation if it meets the criteria and condition of Prec. There may, however, be limitation with other types of registered business that may prohibit its use. So this is not an answer of yes or no, okay? But as far as our brokerage is concerned, we will not accept an existing corporation. We require you to open a brand new corporation. The reason is an existing corporation, we don't know what business, what type it has engaged into. So we don't want to be involved in any hidden legal liabilities. So make it simple. We just want you to open a brand new corporation, okay? As far as we are concerned, we won't allow you to use a conversion of an existing corporation. Are there any restrictions on the activities in a Prec can engage in? The Prec must not trade in real estate, okay? First of all, other than to provide services to the brokerage. There are no restrictions in the legislation on what other activities a Prec might engage in, so legislation does not say anything on this. However, permitted activity will depend on the objects of the corporation, and there may be limitations on the corporation if it is used to operate in another regulated sector. If you are doing something which is under the regulation, and there may be limitation there affecting your use of a Prec to claim the commission. In that case, then it will not be allowed. I set up a brokerage. Now I'm thinking of changing over to a Prec. Is that permitted? Now, this is mainly about, as you're aware, a lot of mini brokerages, like those franchise companies. They open their own mini brokerage using their own name. Okay. Now, this is yes, because as we mentioned before, you can convert your existing brokerage to a Prec. However, the broker would have to stop trading and its registration terminated. If you are mini brokerage, you have to stop trading because Prec cannot trade in real estate. So you have to stop the trading and terminate the registration as a brokerage. Registrants should consult with finance to determine the best approach for their. This is quite complicated because you have still have a lot of, because your brokerage has trust account and a lot of money flowing, and they may take long time to terminate. So this is something that you really have to consult your financial consultant, okay, to make sure. So that's what we would prefer. We would make it simpler. You just open a new corporation. That's what we want you to do. Open a new corporation. We don't want anything involved in your existing company's legal liabilities. Is a Prec covered by the Professional Liability Insurance Program administered by RICO? Now, this is very important, okay? This is very important. Answer is no. A Prec is not a registrant and therefore is not insured under the insurance program. The program will not be liable to defend or indemnify a registrant for any claim made against a Prec, but this does not affect the coverage otherwise afforded to the registrant. So since Prec is not registered under RIBA, the Act, and so it's not covered for the time being. It's not covered by the insurance program, the RICO insurance program. Maybe in future they will change it, amend it, and to include it. That would be that would be best. But for the time being, so there's no insurance. So you must have an insurance in that. Okay. As far as our broker is concerned, we want your Prec to be insured. Okay, and we'll put it in agreement, saying that your Prec must be insured, because you never know. There may be something that somebody will claim you in Prec because you have a company there, and then in addition, currently they claim you and the brokerage. Now in future, so they know, oh, you have a Prec, so they claim you and your Prec and the brokerage, and sometimes it may affect us. So our requirements, your Prec has to be insured. Okay. Now, is unpaid remuneration to a Prec entitled to commission protection coverage under the Professional Liability Insurance? Okay, now this is important too. Failure to pay remuneration owed to a Prec for the service of a registrant, that is the controlling shareholder of the Prec, could give right to a claim under the insurance program by the registrant. So that means yes, because the commission we pay you is under protection, covered by the commission protection insurance. So either we pay you or we pay you through Prec, still is the commission is under the protection coverage. So in case program coverage response in events such as brokerage theft, fraud, insolvency, or misappropriation of funds, subject to term and conditions. Okay, if something happened to the brokerage, then we fail to pay you the commission, either to you or to you through Prec. Your commission is still under the protection coverage. You can claim through the insurance. Okay. Can a holding company own any of the shares of a Prec? Now, the legislation requires that all the equity shares of the company be legally and beneficially owned, directly or indirectly by the controlling shareholder. It also provides that all the non-voting shares must own directly by family member. Okay. Now here I have some reservation, because now let's look back at the checklist. Now the checklist doesn't mention here the controlling shareholder is the Now, the corporation has one single controlling shareholder who owns all the equity shares, which are the voting. It does not say you own the share directly or indirectly. But here, the non-voting share, it says directly or indirectly. So, in any way, either direct or indirectly, because the voting shares must be owned by the registration. So there's no difference whether it's direct or indirect. But again, to make it simple, as far as our brokerage is concerned, we want you to own the voting shares directly, okay, directly by the registration, okay. Because if you own it indirectly, you still have to prove that you are 100%. They are all 100% owned by you and not by any party. So that will make it very complicated in as far as verification is confirmed. We have to see your if you own it indirectly, we have to see who that party is and whether that party is owned by by you 100%. So to make it simple, for the voting share, we want you to own it directly. How do I notify the registrar about my Prec? Okay, this one you know that already. You just email to registration@rico.on.ca. Okay, provide the name of registration and the legal name of Prec and the Prec's address for service. Okay. Can the brokerage pay a Prec commissions earned prior to October 1st? When can a Prec receive payment of commission? For example, deals that were written prior to the Prec legislation coming into effect and the deal closed after October 1st. Now, this question should be considered from the perspective of rebate and that of taxation. From a rebate perspective, provided the individual resident had earned and was entitled to the remuneration, the broker is not prohibited from paying the remuneration to an eligible Prec. Salesperson and broker should consult their accountant and corporate lawyer to be understand. Okay, so now it doesn't say that no. Okay, so if your deals are made before October 1st, but the closing day is after October 1st. As far as we are concerned, we are okay to pay you the commission through your Prec. Of course, after you have opened your Prec and you have signed an agreement with us, then we will agree to pay you those commissions with the deal made before October 1st, but with the closing date after October 1st. Okay, this is a decision made by individual brokers. Depends on how the brokerage decision is. But for us, we will do that, okay? Are there any guidelines or restrictions around naming a Prec? REBA does not impose requirements on the name of REBA. However, because the Prec cannot be promoted or advertised as being able to provide real estate trading service, it may be a consideration to not name it in such a way that would suggest it implies a brokerage. So this has to be careful when you decide on the name of your Prec. Another consideration in naming is that the Prec must be registered in Ontario or incorporated outside Ontario. Okay, can the Prec hold real estate? Yes. REBA does not limit the holding of a Prec. However, if the Prec is used in corporation in another regulated sector, it may have limitations. Again, as well, because the money you made there in your Prec, you may have to you may be thinking of contemplating to invest it into other sectors like real estate or fund something, investment fund, something like that. So you can do that. That's the purpose. But then you have to be very careful. As long as it is not if it involves another regulated sector, there may be limitation or restriction affecting the use of Prec to obtain the commission through from brokerage through Prec. This you have to be very careful, okay? As long as it does not affect RICO's requirement and the legislation, then you are okay to hold properties, real estate. Because Prec is not covered by the RICO E&O insurance, is additional insurance for the Prec required or recommended. Prec and the brokerage are sued, but the registrant is not. It's covered available to the brokerage as its coverage is through the registrant. This we have mentioned before, okay? A Prec is not a registrant, so it's not insured by the RICO E&O insurance program. A Prec is like another non-registered corporation and should be insured against the risk it may face. That is what we require to do so. Your Prec must be insured against the risk or any claims it may face, okay? But the brokerage and yourself concerned, we are protected, covered by the RICO insurance program. The brokerage and you yourself, okay, but Prec is not. Is RICO asking the registrant to confirm anywhere in writing that their Prec does comply with all RIBA requirements? Is there a form the registrant will be asked to complete in this regard? Now, registrants are required to notify name change, okay? In addition to confirming that registrant has notified, the individual representative must ensure it complies with RIBA and respect. The broker must certify itself that it has met the obligation before it can pay any revenue. The broker must do its own duty. Now, these are all the things, the requirements in the checklist that RICO requires you to do when you open a Prec. So we are not going to repeat. We'll do all this through the agreement. If a registrant uses their own name for naming the Prec, could the registrant continue to advertise to the public as long as they only use their name in the advertisement without violating the rule of the Prec not being permitted to trade in real estate? No. So if you use your own name to name your company, your Prec, the individual or broker may advertise as they have using their own name, must include the brokerage. So when you advertise, you do it as before. Even though your Prec is open under your name, you use your own name, okay? Like John Smith, and then you are John Smith, and then your Prec's name is also John Smith. But when you are doing the advertisement, you advertise, like on your business card, you put John Smith, and then, but you must put down as before, you must put down the company, the brokerage name, as required in all advertising, okay? You cannot imply people that John Smith is a Prec trading in real estate, okay? That's the main point. Your business card or promotion material only shows that you are the individual. Say like a John Smith underneath your salesperson or broker, okay? You cannot say John Smith and then under say the Prec, okay? Then that is against the ruling, okay? You put down your name and identify yourself as the broker or the salesperson trading in business, and then the company, the brokerage name also there as before. But you cannot say John Smith and then the Prec. This is wrong, okay? Can a Prec buy and own rental properties, like owning real estate? Outside of the limitation in trading, Prec is not limited in terms of other business. Again, well, you are encouraged to discuss it with accountant lawyer, okay? As long as your other activities are not affecting the Prec's main use and also not affecting the Prec's exemption from registration. That will be okay, okay? Can a holding company own share in the Prec, and does it need to register? Okay, this is we mentioned before, okay? So the voting share must be owned by you yourself, as you are the president, sole director, and officer of the Prec, okay? And then for non-voting members, either owned by you yourself or owned by your family members, okay? The voting share and non-voting share is up to you. You may not. You're up to you how to structure your company corporation. If you don't want the non-voting shares, then it's simple, okay? Does a resident have to take 100% of their commission through their Prec, or can some be earned personally? This is interesting, okay? What it means is, say like you want to this deal. I want the company to pay the brokerage to pay me through Prec, pay to Prec, and then got it. And then for another deal, I want to pay to myself directly instead of paying through Prec. A resident brokerage must determine the compensation structure and settle terms in agreement, okay? So we have to decide this in the agreement. Again, as far as our brokerage is concerned, we will not allow that, okay? To make it simple. So once you have a company and you want to pay you receive your remuneration through Prec, then you have to take all of your remuneration through Prec. You cannot say, I want this one through Prec and then the other one pay to me directly. No, we cannot allow that, okay? What are the limitations in regards to the splitting, income splitting? That is strictly a tax issue. So you have to consult your accountant or lawyer to understand this, okay? Now, as we mentioned before, we look at the news release. The first phase change also includes advertising terms. Now here, let's look at here. Let's a quick look at this, okay? In addition to the currently permitted advertising terms, now you are able to use the new terms. Now, brokers other than the broker record are now permitted to use the following additional descriptors. Real estate agent. You can say yourself now, real estate agent. Before that, you cannot use the word agent. Now you can use it. Or broker, real estate agent. Looks a little bit weird to me. Anyway, realtor. Now this be careful because this is a trademark of Korea. So realtor, if you want to use realtor, you must be a Korea member in good standing. That means you must pay your Korea membership fee, okay? If you do not pay your Korea membership fee, you are not allowed to use realtor. If you're a broker, you can say realtor broker. If you're a salesperson, you say realtor, okay? This is for broker. And then for salesperson, you can say you are a real estate agent. So real estate agent can means either salesperson or broker. And then realtor salesperson. If you're a salesperson, okay. Now, are all registrants permitted to use realtor now? That's in the code ethic. Now, this, again, as it mentioned before, no, because realtor is a trademark of Korea. So you must be a member of Korea in good standing, Canadian Real Estate Association, in order that you can use the term, okay? Now, here it also explain again, remuneration. The term commission has been removed from the regulations and replaced with remuneration, which is defined as any form of remuneration, including any commission, fee, gain, or reward, whether the remuneration is received or is to be received, directly or indirectly. So instead of using commission or remuneration, they change it to one word, remuneration. Okay, include anything, whether it's in money form or in other forms of rewards like a gift certificate or something like that. Okay, all those are remuneration. Am I still allowed to use the term commission? Okay, we'll determine how best. This is not a matter of big issue. Now these are the frequently asked questions that can let you know how the Prec operates and what are the requirements and what are the restrictions that you have to be aware of. Okay, so now let's look at the last part of today's discussion. Okay, that will be the agreement. Now, before going to agreement, I have to mention to you that this agreement, I prepared it for Master Choice and Master Trust. So, if you are not from Master Choice or Master Trust, you must consult your broker record first, okay? Because they may have their own Prec agreement already. So, you are not obligated to use this one, okay? This is my recommendation for, and we are going to use it for Master Choice and Master Trust. Of course, you want to use it, you are most welcome, but you must need your broker records consent first. Because once you use it, that means your other agents in your brokerage have to use the same thing. So you must consult your broker record, okay, before you use it. Now the Prec agreement, this personal agreement between the brokerage, name brokerage, the register, your name, the Prec, your legal name of your corporation, okay? Now, the brokerage, the register agree to enter into this Prec agreement to govern the relationship between the brokerage, the register, and the Prec, as well as the use of Prec and payment of remuneration to the Prec. The registrant and the Prec hereby agree with the brokerage and covenant that, okay, Prec is a brand new corporation incorporated under the Ontario Business Corporation. As I mentioned before, our requirements, we need you to open a brand new corporation. You cannot use an existing corporation to convert it into Prec, okay? Because we don't want to be involved in any hidden legal liabilities or claims that may happen from your existing incorporation, okay? We don't want to get involved in anything like that, okay? Also, a copy of the Articles of Incorporation shall be delivered to the brokerage upon execution of this agreement. When you sign this agreement, your Prec has been incorporated already because you have your name already. So we need a copy of your Articles of Incorporation. Give us a copy. We want to look at it, make sure that it fulfills the requirement, RICO's requirement, okay? Now, most of those are repeated from the RICO checklist. Now, the Prec has one single controller, the registrant, who owns directly. Now, here we put down who owns directly all the voting shares. We don't want to imply directly or indirectly. We want it directly, make it simple, okay? And the controlling shareholder is the president, sole director and officer of Prec. The controlling shareholder is the registrant who is a broker or salesman in good standing. You must be in good standing, okay? Non-voting shares, as we mentioned before, same as the broker's checklist. You can own it directly or indirectly by your family member or by you yourself, okay? if you have any non-voting share. If you don't have non-voting share, that's fine. There's no written agreement or other arrangement that restricts or transfers the power of the sole director. This is the same as the RICO checklist. You cannot transfer your power of managing the Prec to any other person. Okay, you have to manage, supervise the business and affairs of Prec by yourself, directly by yourself. The Prec should not carry on business in trading, that providing the service other than providing service control to the brokerage. Okay, cannot trade in real estate. Contract shall be employed by the brokerage through a contract to trade in real estate. Because you sign a contract with us, so we put down that you are employed by us through a contract. Okay, so your existing contract is still invalid. Okay, don't mix up. Don't be misunderstood that the contract is void. Well, the contract is still valid in good standing, because that's a contract between you yourself and the brokerage, nothing to do with Prec. The Prec contracts are approved from represent public. Now you cannot represent public that Prec trades in real estate. The Prec shall not carry on business as a brokerage. Now the Prec only receive remuneration for trading from the brokerage, and the contract show that you yourself only receive remuneration for trading from Prec. So we put it down here. The registrant must take all of her remuneration from the brokerage through the Prec. You must take all your remuneration through the Prec once you decide you use a Prec. Okay, you cannot take one remuneration through Prec and then the other one you say I want it to pay to myself directly, not through the Prec. No, we are not allowed to do that. Okay, the Prec shall not on behalf of direct hold money that. Because Prec is not a brokerage, you cannot hold a deposit or any other things on behalf of the brokerage. You hold it for your client. No, you cannot. In any way, you don't have a trust account, you cannot do that. The Prec shall not hinder or obstruct. Okay, this is something same as before we mentioned. Affect the control. Okay, Prec shall whatever, same thing. Okay. Now the Prec shall provide whatever. Okay, same thing. The registrar has notified the registrar of RICO of the legal name of the Prec and the address for service of the Prec. Now, here we put down very clearly in the agreement. You have notified the registrar. Okay, you have, because by this time when you sign the agreement, you have opened your Prec already, and you must have informed RICO already. So we write down that you have done that. Okay, you covenant that you have done that. Okay. The Prec shall not pay an amount for rent that is greater than the amount. So this is exactly the same as the checklist. The rent must note out in writing any change now. So any change that affect the eligibility of the exemption from registration only change to the information regarding the Prec. You must inform RICO through the email within 5 days after change take place. This is not a new regulation. It's always there. Anything change regarding your registration status, like your address, your email address, your mailing address, your home address, your phone number, anything change, you must inform RICO within 5 days after the change. Okay. The registrant must ensure that does not engage in activity other than okay. Now, this one, Prec is insured against any risk or claims it may face with minimum 3 million coverage. We require your Prec to be insured, okay, against any risk or claims, okay, and the minimum coverage has to be at least 3 million, okay. This is for your own protection in case somebody sue your Prec and then you don't have any coverage at all, if the lawsuit affect us, the brokerage, or affect you as well, you and the brokerage are covered under the RICO insurance, but not your Prec. So your Prec must insure, okay? If you want to sign this agreement with us, you want to take remuneration through Prec, you must have your Prec insured, okay? And also, a copy of the insurance shall be delivered to the brokerage upon executing the agreement. When you sign the agreement, you have to show us the insurance coverage and a yearly renewal to the brokerage thereafter. Every year when you renew your insurance, you must show us a copy, okay? Now the last one, last but not least, the registration and the Prec shall at all times be in full compliance with the requirements of the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act or the Trust in Real Estate Services Act as amended, okay? This is important. The REBA 202 is to be replaced by Trust in Real Estate Services Act 2020. Something in starting next year, they will replace it. So in any way, you and the Prec, in particular the Prec, must be in full compliance with the requirements of the legislation, okay? So now, if you agree to all those terms, sign here, okay? The brokerage sign our name, our brokerage name, and then ASO, the authorized signing officer, normally it's a broker record, will sign it, and then you yourself, the registrant, sign it, okay? And then your company, your Prec, name your Prec, and then you sign it. Of course, the ASO is the same as you yourself because you are the only voting member of your Prec. So basically, you sign it as yourself, and you sign here on behalf for your company. Okay, that is the Prec agreement for master choice and master trust agents. I repeat, for agents of the other brokerage, if you want to use this, you better consult your broker record first. Make sure they may have one for you already. If they don't have one and they agree to use this one, you are most welcome to use it, okay? So that's all for today's topic. And then if you have any question, just give me a call, okay? Or send me an email. I'm in the office Mondays and Thursday, 10 to 6, okay? So just give me a shout anytime, okay? Thank you very much.